Here we have yet another H&S Minimax tuner, and this one is coming from Texas. I do not know what the secret is, but almost every H&S Minimax tuner that comes into our shop is usually coming from Texas. The tuner came in for no power, but right off the bat I hear something wiggling inside. Something is broken inside. That should make our job easier, because if there's a broken component, we can tell what that component is and we can replace it. Let me just open the case to see what's broken inside. And I see a tiny little piece here. I do not know what that piece is or how it broke, but let's take a look together. Let's take a look at the broken component, and it's a coil. It's a coil. We do not know how that coil broke or what part of the board it belongs to, but anytime you see something like this, it makes life easier. We know where to look on the board. We know what component is causing the problem. It's usually more difficult when you do not have any indication on the board to what may be causing the problem. But in here we have a clear indication that the problem is the coil. But I want to see what part of the board the coil broke out from. This is the board here. I mean, it's a small board, so it should not be hard to pinpoint where that coil broke out from. I do not see any traces of that broken coil. Let's check back of the board. Huh. Flip the board again. Oh, right there, right there. It doesn't look like there's anything broken here, but that's it right there. You see, look at this. So we're gonna have to replace this coil and hope for the best. It should work. And where do we get that coil from? How do we know what that coil is? I do have a donor board, and we're going to extract that coil from a used non-functional donor board. So that should not be a problem. But let's say we do not have a donor board, then we have to look up the coil and see the value and where to buy it from. But luckily we do have donor boards for the H&S Minimax tuners. We do a lot of them. Okay, so the coil is right over here. This is our used donor board. Let's take a look. That's the customer's board, and that's the used board right there. So we're gonna remove this component and we're gonna put it on the customer's board. We have the board on the magnetic board holder held by the 5 magnets. And let's go ahead and remove the coil. Let's try 390. 390C. And perfect. Remove the board. And now we're gonna work on the customer's board. Okay, so what we're gonna do right now is just add some solder onto the pads. The job is done. We do not need to do anything else. All we have to do is test and hope for the best. So let's plug the cable into our power bank and let's supply 5 volts onto the Minimax tuner and see if it turns on. And look at that. It's working. and it was pretty obvious when the device came in that that component was broken. Luckily, we do have a donor board in stock, and we were able to remove that coil from the used donor board and put it on the customer's board, and the job is done. And let's work on another HNS tuner that we got in, and I'll combine both HNS tuners in one video. This one here was mailed in because it's not working properly. I already removed the motherboard from the casing, and we're gonna plug it in and see what happens. I do hear the beep, and it turns on, but it turns on to a white screen and nothing else. This one is not a black screen issue. It's not a no power issue, but it's a white screen. Let's take a look under the microscope. The first thing I want to do is quick physical inspection to see if there's anything obvious on the board. Let me push the SD card back inside. So we're gonna start from the front here, and we're gonna look at all the components on the board, make sure nothing is burned, or no chip with holes in it, or no brown black spots, or no knocked off missing components. Whoa, 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 look at that. We have a blown capacitor. I never seen that before on HNS tuners, never. Wow. Look at that. What caused this capacitor to blow? I have no idea. No idea. Maybe we're gonna test to see if the capacitor is shorted to ground. Meter in diode mode. Let's check the component in diode mode. Red probe on ground and black probe right here. And the component is not shorted to ground. We're gonna change it anyway. I do not know if that is what's causing the problem, but it doesn't look good. Anything else on the board? Let's flip the board and look at the back. Okay, so this is back of the board here. I honestly do not think that that capacitor will cause a white screen. It looks like it's a bypass capacitor. One end is ground and the other end is connecting somewhere. And everything looks good on this side of the board. Okay. Okay, so I do not see anything obvious other than the capacitor. And honestly, I have never seen a blown capacitor like that before. We do see blown filters, blown resistors, blown ICs, but not blown capacitors. So capacitors usually do not blow, they just short out. But since that's what we see wrong with the board now, we're gonna go ahead and replace the capacitor and we'll test again. Who knows? Now, of course, we're gonna grab that component from a donor board. I do not know the value of the capacitor, so we're gonna use a donor board to grab that component. And sometimes people ask, what if you do not have a donor board? How can you get that component? You need to know the value of the capacitor. You can know the value of the capacitor by maybe testing a good known board, or someone has to tell you the value of the capacitor. There are no circuit diagrams available for this HNS tuner, so there's no way to know the value unless you take it out and measure it. So right now, since we have a donor board, we're gonna take it out from here and we're gonna put it right over here, assuming that that's the only thing that's wrong with the board. I highly doubt that this is going to fix the problem, but let's start by replacing the capacitor. Oh, I mean, the capacitor is totally gone. Totally gone. It's not gonna have much effect on the circuit. A bypass capacitor is used to filter out noise, but it's not gonna prevent the circuit from working properly. So this is ground, and this end is not ground, so it's a bypass capacitor. No way a bypass capacitor is gonna fix a white screen issue. No way. Honestly, I would be shocked if this capacitor fixes the problem.
Just one question. Retimer chip and how you change it for the no display issue?
Yeah. I changed the retimer chip plus other missing components.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and let me just cool down that component. And I'm gonna measure it with an LCR meter just to see what it reads. Okay, so the component should be cold now. Maybe I should do this. And this one I mainly use when I want to measure inductors or capacitors. It's currently set to auto, so it will know if you are measuring a capacitor or inductor or resistor. One picofarad. 1 picofarad. Just for future reference. And we're gonna solder that component on here. Now I did not disconnect the screen from the motherboard yet, so we're gonna solder it using our soldering iron and not hot air. Or maybe we can use our hot tweezers. Hot tweezers should be good. Two of my hot tweezers tip fell on the floor and they got bent. So I'm not gonna be able to use this tip here. Let me show you what I mean. Look at this tip. Gone with the wind. And look at this one. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I'm very careful with my tools, but sometimes you can't help it when something falls. Very nice. We're gonna touch up on the sides here and touch up here, and let's test one more time. Like I said, I highly doubt that this will fix the problem, but what have we got to lose if we test? Something else going on now. It's restarting. Oh. So the capacitor may have something to do. Oh. And we still have a white screen. And I'm honestly tempted to use another screen. Maybe the screen is the problem. Let me remove the screen and try another one, and we'll see. That's the customer's screen right here, and we are working on another H&S tuner, which I have right over here. Maybe we'll combine this one in the video also, if I had time. So we're gonna try this screen right here. Why is the fume extractor on? Let's test and see. And look at that. It's working. So the problem is the screen. Problem is the screen. Okay. So that's good news. We changed a blown capacitor on the motherboard, and we also have to change the screen. We have some donor HNS devices inside. I hope that we have a screen here, because you cannot buy a screen for this tuner. You cannot get a screen for this tuner from anywhere, so we have to get it from donor devices. Let me put this back for the customer. And that's it. I have a very urgent PS4 that we need to get done. This is the PS4 Pro. It came in for a broken power connector that we have to solder on here. I do not know if I'm going to do a video on it. I think I have a couple of videos on the very same issue, but we'll see. I'm going to end the video right here. I think 2 HNS tuners in one video is enough. Otherwise, it's going to take a lot of time to edit the videos. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you have any questions, and we'll do something else in the next video.